So you had patellar tendon issues for years. What do you think is the main reason you actually had it?
Trained with a lot of intensity and I had no idea about range training, the length of tissues. I had no idea about how they really heal. I was just following the conventional wisdom, listening to physios, watching the stuff that you can watch online. And to be honest, it hasn't really changed. The dominant message is still the same: do isometrics and it's going to be fine. But the reason ATG exploded in popularity and virality is because people were fixing their tendons in 2, 3, 4 sessions. The logic of that works for the knee, but if you don't understand the logic, then you can't apply it to the other joints, and sometimes you even miss the point when it comes to the knee. So people end up persisting with it because they think sissy squats is ATG or split squats is ATG, and then it doesn't fix their patellar tendon. So no, you haven't understood the logic of what's going on here, and therefore you're going to have tendon pain still for the rest of your life.
I had someone come to me in July with, I think it was an ACL issue. I think it was like 6 months post ACL. His main message he was saying to me was like, I know ATG, like I can do it on my own, like I don't really need it. He messaged me saying, hey man, just catching up. I wonder if I can do the program now. I've now got ACL issue, but also patellar tendonitis, shin splints, Achilles issue, and plantar fasciitis. People think they know ATG, but they know the ATG that's presented in short form content and not the ATG behind the actual exercises.
Just doing the movements isn't going to work for most people. You need coaching, but even more than that, understanding the deeper logic is the level that most people fail at.
So why is it important for footballers to train upper body?
It's not the most important thing, and that's, anyone who really loves football is going to know it's bullshit if you tell her, okay, the most important thing is to get jacked, and that's going to help you be a great football player. Of course it's not, but it's going to play into your acceleration, it's going to play into your confidence, it's going to play into your presence on the ball. So top sprinters will have some degree of upper body development. It plays into your acceleration ability. So if you have a very weak, small upper body, doesn't mean you can't be extremely skillful. There are examples of that in football. But is it a competitive advantage? No, it's not. Guys who have more presence on the ball, have more confidence, are able to hold players off and have better acceleration over 5 meters are in a better position than those who don't.
So we see a shift of football now of players going towards more mass. If you look at the best players, Mohamed Salah, Cristiano Ronaldo, even Messi has some mass on his upper body. And why do you think that is?
Players becoming more professional and realizing there's more at stake. There's more money at stake than ever before. There's more competition for places. The standard of football has risen dramatically. If you go back and watch games from 20 years ago, it wasn't the same game. So players are looking for every competitive advantage that they can have in every sense. And part of that is to have upper body development. It's going to help acceleration, it's going to help confidence, it's going to help presence on the ball to be able to hold players off. There was an Australian player, Mark Viduka, who played in the Premier League. What he had going for him was that he was able to hold players off because he was thicker, because he'd come out of the Australian system. He wasn't the most skillful player, but he was able to make it in the Premier League because he had a competitive advantage in that area, which then helped him to play his style of game, which was holding people off the ball, and he got to play. Some of these soccer players are looking a little bit more jacked. What's going on with that?
The one that comes to my mind is Mohamed Salah, a Liverpool fan. Like, you just watch him and there's an effortless ability to shrug people off. Like, yeah, that maybe not just coming from the upper body mass and the strength, it's balance, it's this, it's that. But if you look at the photos of him, he's severely jacked, like he is. And he's literally able, the ball's pinged over the top, he's shrugging the guy off while taking the touch from all the way over there and then putting it top bins. You have to have like that extra level of something like 0.1% that's going to change it.
If he was a rugby player, if he was a grappler, he would have to have some mass in the upper body. So you're saying that grappling, muscular effort, that rugby component of football, he's better at than other players, and he 100%. Looks more like them. There's a clue there. I know you get hundreds of followers reaching out every day asking like how you got so huge. What impact has improving your upper body strength had on your self-image, on your football? Like, has it helped you? Obviously you're not going to go to Mr. Olympia in the next week or two, but has it impacted you?
Yeah, knowing the relative strength is the most important thing that I focus on. It's like a lot of people can bench press a lot more than me, but can they do that kind of range of the dips and the shoulders? When you're sprinting, you've got that full range. That does give me a lot of confidence to go into players. Like, I'm going up against you in football and it's like, I'm going for you. There's no fear in my mind, and the mind is one of the biggest limiters of people on the pitch, of athletes. So if you know that you're coming up against Ronaldo and he's 6'3", he's super jacked, he's super strong, and you know that, there's just an element of mind games going on there. Knowing that you have to play someone like that, your confidence immediately goes down.
So 20% of footballers retire because of knee pain. That was almost you, not retiring from a professional career, but stopping playing the game that you love. Do you think you're going to retire because of knee issues?
Not at all. The reason that I had to do that was because you're playing so many times a week at such a high intensity, like you said as well, without any strength training I was doing. I was in the elite, so one below the academies, and maybe the academies have a bit of it here and there, but the focus on how good can you get at skill. But then that's not developing people who can have the long longest careers. Ronaldo's in the gym all the time and his longevity is crazy. Salah's Jack, his longevity is crazy. Someone like Luis Suarez has major knee injuries now. So I could probably, like, not saying I could, but I probably could go see Luis Suarez and sort him out. Like,
There's a good chance because it works for others, and the body is not that different between professional athletes and someone at home who just wants to play with their bodies. The 20% of soccer players are retiring because of knee injuries. You're saying the emphasis on skill, play, games, everything about football, we just need to be on the ball. That's the pathway of development that is still most dominant. Even within that skill paradigm, what if they were doing some slack lines, some pistol squats on the slack line, maybe balancing on Swiss balls? People will laugh at that training, but now that you've actually done it for a few months, what impact do you think it would have on that 20%?
massive. Like, there's an element of balance, not balance in terms of you're balancing one leg, but balance between skills. Like Ben talks about it in terms of, okay, your hamstring to quad ratio, but how strong are you on two legs versus one leg? Like, how much time do we spend on one leg in football? I noticed that I can't spend as much time on one leg, especially on the balls of my foot, on my right leg, because that's not the leg I've been planning on. Then when I went back to football, after doing all my strength training and stuff, that right leg, because I was kicking more with my left, started developing issues because it's not used to it. So the slack line, the Bosa ball, the different stuff where I'm standing on one foot, fascia stuff, it helps.
20% of soccer players are retiring because of knee injuries. A lot of them are not going to become weight room lovers. What else could they be doing if they're like, yeah, no, the weight room is not for me, but I'll do something because I don't want to be in this 20%? What can they do?
Strength training is one form of it, and strength training just isn't in the weight room. Like, your big message, one of them is tension. When someone sprints super fast, their hamstrings have loads of tension, so their hamstrings get big. So the weight room is not the only way you build an athlete, and that's one of the issues in the knee rehab of, like, people just focus on the strength training thing. I'm out of football, and then they don't do the dribbling, the passing, all this kind of stuff at a very low level, and then get into it. It's like, well, could we develop qualities around the pitch before we go into the games, after the games, including skill work into the stuff?
A lot of athletes would do some push-ups and maybe some chin-ups, maybe some abs. Are there movements that you can do for lower body that would help to reverse some of those statistics?
Yeah, I mean, Ben says it all the time. Like, we're playing up in these high knee angles all the time. I've spoke to so many people that have come back. Someone on my team now, he's got meniscus issues. He can't bend his knee to full range of motion, body weight, and he's playing football. And it's like, your knee can't do its function to bend to a full range of motion. Yeah, we can get away with that if we're up in these high range of motion, but before the game, if we warmed up the knee and then see if we can get into a deep split squat or a deep squat, any of that kind of stuff, and then do the reverse of the stuff, like doing step ups before the game, warm the knee up, adding knee extensions, flossing, stretching out after the game. All of this stuff may seem little, but it's that daily stuff that really keeps you going, keeps you in the game. I had a professional footballer come to me, had this pain in the back of his knee, 7 months post ACL. The physios were like, yeah, that's probably just going to say that. We don't know what's going on. We done banner hamstring curls, done like 200 reps of that, and then elephant walks before the game, not even in the gym room. After a week, it was gone. He was like, I thought I was going to have that for ages. So, well, no.
What about for people who would say that being able to fully bend the knee isn't even natural, isn't needed? Why would you need that if you're an athlete?
Isn't natural. Like, Eden is walking around all day, picking stuff up off the ground, sitting in the deep squat. Like, he's a baby. What's more natural than coming out of the womb? Like, Kadim's granddad in Senegal, he's 90 years old, he's still sitting in the deep squat, no knee issues. People in Asia, it's known for one of the most populations of having the deep squat, of sitting in there, one of the least knee issues. Maybe it doesn't transfer straight to your sport, but having healthier tissues can transfer to playing the sport. It's like, yeah, let's put the most intent in the sport, but if you can't bend your knee, you're thinking about your knee because you can't bend it. You know, your brain knows you have some weakness there. If that weren't there, then you're going to be able to put more intent into the sport.
Can athletes you work with get into a full squat position?
Yeah, like, that's the first thing we work on. I had a guy recently come to me 8 months post ACL meniscus. He hasn't even been able to get halfway. I can put the picture up now of him trying to squat. He's like this. And then 4 weeks later, he's sitting on his heels like this. He's like, I haven't been able to do that since I hurt my knee. 4 weeks. You just don't do the knee. He's been doing leg extensions and Bulgarian split squats to halfway.
How does he feel about regaining that? What has it done for his confidence, performance?
Yeah, all the little bits have literally, like, completely changed his mindset. Like, he feels 10 times better. Like, the sled, he's been able to feel his quads again, which he couldn't feel before. And now he was showing me that he was in, like, zone 4 on the sled. He was like, I haven't felt this kind of heart pump since football. And it's like, just those small wins that you get in strength training. Oh my God, my knee can do this. Wow, I can feel my quads lighting up. Wow, I can get this pump in my chest again. I've started getting him to kick the ball against the wall and stuff. He was like, yeah, sure, but he didn't think he was going to do that for like another 3, 4, 5 months.
What do you think about sled training for football players? There's no sled on the field. You're not pushing against lots of opposition like rugby players do.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive. For me in particular, like, getting healing to the knee while getting that strength at the same time is massive. But I remember you in one of your podcasts back in the day saying that when you went to the HG HQ, you could beat all of them on the squat. You could beat them on this. The highest dunkers were the ones ones that were smashing the sled. So then if you've got a really high vertical, that increases the chance you're going to be faster and all that kind of stuff. It's explosive power. So there's some kind of correlation there. If you're beating them on all the other numbers, but they're beating you on the sled, it's that sport specific position. We're always here, maybe in different angles. Like I've been doing a lateral sled as well. Like forwards and backwards isn't the only way. Like Messi is the best decelerator. He's the best player. There's no, it's just the backwards of decelerating. Like it's beautiful.
There's a study come out saying that top speed sprinting isn't improved by sled training. There's always this debate about it. What do you think about the value of sled training? If it's not improving top speed or even making someone's top speed go down fractionally, does that mean you're making a mistake by including it in your programs, getting people back to playing football? I'm glad you asked. The thing is, when people talk about top speed sprinting and they confuse top speed sprinting with athleticism, in most sports, in most critical athletic plays, there is more ground contact time than at top speed sprinting. Top speed sprinting is such a small fraction of athleticism. When someone thinks of athleticism, they might think of top speed sprinting, but in fact, most of the game is won and lost in the first 5 meters when the ground contact times are really long. When you're changing direction, the ground contact times are long. Even when someone's dunking, the ground contact time is going to be much longer than at top speed sprinting. So when you look at these things and you cherry pick and you look at the world through this straw, you come up with distorted visions of things. You also got to look at why we're doing the sled training. Yes, you can do it to improve speed. And for someone like a rugby player where they're going to be running against resistance, it also makes more sense. And there's a case for the specificity of it. But for the most part, we're using it to prevent injury. We're using it to prepare for heavy lifting. We're using it to prepare for explosive movements. And we've seen over and over again that people can get into plyometric training, they can get into their dunk session, and they feel amazing off the back of doing that. So you're not necessarily doing it to improve speed, even though you can, and even though there's a good case for it. The sled has so many uses that to say, okay, because maybe it didn't work for this one function, this one study with this one protocol, is such a small, narrow-minded way of looking at what the benefits of sled training might be.